Last Thursday afternoon at 2:15 p.m., my former coworker David did something that most people only fantasize about. He closed his laptop, walked into his director's office, and calmly resigned without having another job lined up. He didn't make a scene. He didn't throw a keyboard, scream at his boss, or post a dramatic rant on social media. He just spoke 3 quiet sentences. I've decided to move in a different direction. My last day will be the 2nd of next month. Thank you for the opportunity. He didn't win the lottery. He didn't sell a tech startup, and he doesn't have wealthy parents funding his life. What he had was a single number sitting in a boring, high-yield savings account that his primary bank dashboard didn't even display on the main login page. That number was $15,000. Because $15,000 isn't just money. It is 5 months of pure, uninterrupted oxygen. It's the exact boundary line where you stop begging for your livelihood and start choosing how your life actually runs. If you are tired of living in survival mode, hit the subscribe button. We don't do hype, complex trading setups, or get-rich-quick hacks here. Just unglamorous math that builds real freedom. Now, on paper, $15,000 is not life-changing wealth. It won't buy you a beach house on the coast. It won't allow you to retire to a tropical island at 27. But in the cold, hard reality of the modern workplace, $15,000 is a quiet superpower. It is the exact tipping point where the invisible leash around your neck quietly snaps. It is the boundary line between being a captive employee who has to swallow daily disrespect just to pay rent, and a free agent who can look an abusive manager in the eye and calmly say, "No, that doesn't work for me." Today, we are going to break down the unglamorous math of the $15,000 rule. You will learn why crossing this specific cash threshold completely flips the power dynamic between you and the corporate system, how to calculate your personal escape timeline, and the precise, mechanical steps to build this freedom buffer even if your monthly budget feels suffocatingly tight right now. If you are currently living paycheck to paycheck, I want you to take a deep, honest breath. This is a judgment-free space, but we need to look at your situation with absolute clinical clarity. When your bank account balance hovers near zero, your brain does not function normally. You exist in what cognitive psychologists call chronic scarcity mode. Every single decision you make runs through a single, survival-based filter. Can I afford to be wrong here? And when the answer to that question is always, no, because my rent is due next Friday, the cage door closes. You tolerate the boss who calls you on Sunday afternoons. You accept the toxic workplace culture. You stay silent when a coworker takes credit for your project. You do all of this because your survival depends on that bi-weekly direct deposit. The corporate world knows this. They don't say it out loud, but they understand the quiet leverage they hold over someone with less than $1,000 in savings. Desperation has a distinct smell, and in the corporate environment, it smells like compliance. But when you cross the $15,000 threshold, the air in the room changes. Let's run the actual math. If your essential living expenses, your rent, food, insurance, and basic utilities, are $3,000 a month, $15,000 represents 5 full months of absolute, uninterrupted runway. 5 months of breathing room. Think about how that physically feels. The next time a director snaps at you in a meeting, your heart rate doesn't spike. Your palms don't sweat. Why? Because you aren't doing survival math in your head. You aren't calculating if a sudden layoff means losing your home. You know, with absolute certainty, that if you walk out that door today, you have 150 days to find your next move before you even have to look at your credit cards. That structural confidence completely alters your physical presence. You speak slower. You set firmer boundaries. You negotiate salary increases from a position of absolute quiet strength. You stop begging for your job, and you start evaluating if the company deserves your labor. That is the true power of having cash that nobody else knows about. But to get there, we have to talk about why most people never cross this threshold. It isn't because they don't work hard. It's because the financial system is specifically designed to extract a premium from people who lack cash. We call this the poverty premium. If you have $200 in your checking account, a flat tire isn't just an inconvenience, it's an absolute financial catastrophe. You can't pay the $800 repair bill. So, what do? You put it on a high-interest credit card at 26%. Or worse, you take out a payday loan. Now, you aren't just paying for the tire. You are paying interest on the tire. If your bank account balance drops below a certain limit, the bank charges you a monthly maintenance fee. Think about the sick irony of that. The bank is charging you money because you don't have enough money. If you can't afford to pay your car insurance annually, you pay it monthly, which adds an extra $10 administrative surcharge to every single bill. If you can't buy groceries in bulk at a discount warehouse because you don't have the upfront cash, you buy single items at a premium at the local corner store. When you add all of these tiny leaks up, the average cash-poor individual is paying an invisible tax of $300 to $500 a month just for the privilege of being broke. It is an expensive, compounding cycle of panic. When you save your first $15,000, you permanently extinguish this tax. You become immune to the poverty premium. If your refrigerator dies, you write a check. You don't pay a single cent of interest. If your car insurance is due, you pay the annual rate and pocket the 10% discount. You stop paying administrative fees, overdraft penalties, and high-interest credit card carrying costs. Suddenly, that $300 to $500 a month that was being extracted from you stays inside your walls. Your defensive cash buffer actively accelerates your ability to save even more money. The hardest part of the entire journey is simply building the first wall. So, how do we build it? If you try to build a $15,000 buffer using willpower, you will fail. Willpower is a biological resource that depletes throughout the day. When you come home after a grueling 9-hour shift, your willpower is at zero. You are tired, you are frustrated, and you want a quick dopamine hit. So you click buy now on your phone, or you order expensive delivery. To win, you must replace willpower with environmental design. You need a mechanical system that operates completely independent of your emotional state. Here's the 3-step architecture David used to build his exit buffer in exactly 14 months on a modest salary. Step 1 is the invisible vault. First, you must open a high-yield savings account at an entirely separate bank from your primary checking account. This is non-negotiable. If your savings account sits on the same dashboard as your checking account, you will look at it. Your brain will register it as available cash, and you will eventually spend it. We call this new account the vault. When you set up the vault, do not order a debit card. Do not download the bank's app on your phone. Delete the online banking password from your browser's autofill. You want to make transferring money out of the vault as frustrating and tedious as humanly possible. If you want to touch that cash, it should require a manual, multi-day transfer that forces you to sit with your decision for 48 hours. Step 2 is the automatic split. Second, you must set up an automatic direct deposit through your employer's payroll system, not your personal bank transfer. Every single time you get paid, a flat percentage, whether it is 10%, 15%, or even 5% to start, must be diverted directly into the vault before the remaining balance ever hits your primary checking account. If you never see the money in your main account, your brain never registers it as disposable income. You adapt your lifestyle to the remaining 90%. You treat this automatic transfer like a mandatory government tax. But instead of funding a bureaucracy, you are funding your personal freedom. Step 3 is the fixed obligation audit. Third, you must calculate your exact monthly bleed number. This is the bare minimum amount of cash required to keep a roof over your head and food in your mouth. Go through your bank statements from the last 90 days and ruthlessly identify every single subscription, premium tier, and automatic daily purchase. You don't need to live like a monk forever. But while you are building the first $15,000, every single dollar leaking out of your pocket is a day of freedom you are actively selling back to your employer. To help you run this audit without the exhausting mental math, you can download the Toxic Boss Sabbatical Calculator and Emergency Budget Planner. It is a clean, interactive spreadsheet that calculates your exact monthly bleed number, maps your timeline to $15,000 based on your current income, and shows you exactly where your budget is losing pressure. The download link is in the description below. Now, let's look at the timeline. Many people look at the goal of $15,000 and think, why bother? It will take me over a year to save that, and in a year, I'll still be in the same position. This is a classic cognitive trap. The time is going to pass anyway. In 12 months, you will be 1 year older. The only question is whether you will be 1 year older with $15,000 in career optionality, or 1 year older, still staring at the bedroom ceiling at 2:47 a.m., doing emergency math in the dark. Let's run the numbers to see how compounding behaves when you keep the engine clean. If you redirect just $12 a day, the cost of a fast food lunch or a premium coffee and snack, and deposit it into the vault, here's exactly how your reality shifts over a 5-year horizon. In year 1, you have accumulated $4,380. On paper, this looks boring. Your friends are driving newer cars and posting vacation photos. You feel like you are sacrificing for nothing. This is the danger zone where 90% of people quit because they run out of belief. But what you can't see is that you have already built a 60-day safety barrier. You are officially immune to minor emergencies. In year 3, your balance crosses $14,000. With basic interest, you are sitting on the threshold of the $15,000 rule. Suddenly, your posture at work changes. You realize you haven't checked your banking app in panic for over 18 months. Your nervous system has settled. You are now playing offense. In year 5, your unglamorous daily habit has grown into over $24,000. If you decide to transition this safety money into a low-cost, broad market index fund returning a conservative historical average of 8%, that foundation begins to replicate itself on autopilot. In 20 years, that single daily choice turns into over $200,000. In 30 years, it crosses $500,000. Not because you hit a lucky stock pick, but because you refused to let your lifestyle inflate every time you got a raise. You gave your smallest daily leaks a single, quiet direction. Reaching $15,000 is not about buying things. It is about buying yourself back. It is about the physical feeling of walking into a room and knowing that your livelihood cannot be threatened by a single bad temper, a sudden corporate restructuring, or an unfair performance review. David didn't quit his job because he was lazy. He quit because his safety buffer allowed him to search for a company that valued his expertise rather than one that simply leased his desperation. Today, he is working at a firm that pays him 20% more in a role with half the stress. That transaction was paid for, in full, by the $15,000 he quietly kept in the vault. Tonight, I want you to make one physical adjustment. Calculate your bleed number. Open that separate high-yield savings account. Set up an automatic transfer of just $5 a day, the cost of a single coffee, directly from your paycheck into that separate vault. Once you have set up your vault, I want you to drop a comment below with a simple phrase, Vault Established. Or, if you're already on the path, write down your current target milestone. I read every single comment on this channel, and I reply to as many as I humanly can. Let's build an unglamorous, silent ledger of accountability right here. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.